You can spend hundreds of dollars on plants, spend an entire weekend installing them, step back, and still have a yard that looks like nobody tried. This happens constantly, and the plants are never the problem. Flower beds fail because of decisions made before the first plant goes in the ground, and a few critical ones made after. These aren't obscure design secrets. They're patterns that show up in almost every residential yard, and once you know what they are, you cannot stop seeing them. 10 mistakes. Every one of them is fixable. Most of them cost nothing to correct. Let's go. Mistake 1: beds that are too narrow to work. Most homeowners dig flower beds that are too shallow. A strip of soil 12 to 18 inches wide running along a fence or foundation looks like an afterthought because structurally, it is. Narrow beds can't support layered planting. There's no room for a back row of taller plants, a mid-layer of texture, and a front edge of low ground cover. Everything ends up at the same height, the same distance from the viewer, and the bed reads as flat and unfinished no matter what you plant in it. The minimum width for a bed that actually looks designed is 3 feet. 4 to 5 feet is better. At that width, you can layer. You can create depth. You can let plants grow naturally without everything colliding at the front edge. If widening the existing bed feels like a big job, it isn't. A half-moon edger and an afternoon. Move the line back, extend the depth. The bed you already have becomes a different thing entirely. Mistake 2: planting without a height plan. Walk up to most flower beds, and here's what you see. Tall plants on one end, short plants in the middle. Something else entirely at the back. No logic, no layering, no sense that anything was placed with intention. This happens because people plant based on what's available at the garden center on the day, not based on a plan. And without a height plan, even beautiful plants fight each other into visual chaos. The rule is as old as garden design itself. Tall at the back, medium in the middle, low at the front. It sounds simple because it is, but applied consistently, it creates the layered effect that makes a bed look like it was designed rather than assembled. Before any plant goes in the ground, know its mature height. Group by height zone. Let the tallest plants create a backdrop. Let the front edge plants soften the transition to the lawn. That sequence, that layering, is what the eye reads as intentional. Mistake 3: one of everything instead of groups. This is the garden center trap. You walk in, everything looks beautiful, and you buy one of 12 different things. 1 salvia, 1 coneflower, 1 black-eyed Susan, 1 catmint, 1 ornamental grass. You come home with variety and go home without impact. Individual specimen plants scattered across a bed create visual noise. The eye bounces between unrelated things without anywhere to settle. The bed looks busy and unresolved like a collection, not a composition. What creates impact is repetition. 3 of the same plant grouped together reads as intentional. 5 of them reads as confident design. The same $30 spent on 1 each of 30 different plants versus 5 each of 6 varieties produces a completely different result, and the grouped version wins every time. Buy fewer varieties. Buy more of each. Mass planting is how professional landscape designers create the kind of beds that stop people on the street. Mistake 4: skipping the edge every single time. There is no faster way to make a flower bed look cheap than letting the lawn grow into it unchecked. And there is no faster way to make that same bed look designed than cutting a clean, vertical edge along its entire length. The edge is the frame. A painting without a frame looks unfinished. A bed without a defined edge looks like it's slowly dissolving back into the lawn regardless of what's planted inside it. Most people mow to the edge of the bed and assume that's enough. It isn't. Mowing cuts what's visible. It doesn't stop lateral root growth underneath. 6 weeks later, the grass has moved back in, and the line is gone. A half-moon edger cuts a clean vertical drop from lawn level to bed level and stops that lateral growth. Do it twice a year. The before and after is immediate and dramatic, and it costs nothing beyond 20 minutes and a $30 tool. This is the highest return maintenance task in any garden. Mistake 5: old. Faded mulch left from last season. Mulch has a shelf life. Not functionally old mulch still suppresses weeds and retains moisture, but visually, it expires fast. Within 1 season, most mulch has faded from rich, dark brown to a washed-out gray that reads as neglect, even when the plants are healthy and thriving. Here's the thing most people don't know. Fresh, dark mulch doesn't just look better. It makes the plants look better. The contrast between dark ground and green foliage is what makes plantings pop. Without it, even well-chosen plants look dull and flat against faded gray mulch. Top dress once a year. 2 to 3 inches of fresh, dark hardwood mulch applied in spring before peak growing season. A cubic yard covers around 160 square feet and costs between $40 and $60 at most suppliers. The transformation is immediate. The bed looks freshly installed, the plants look deliberately placed, and the whole yard reads as a level higher than it did the day before. Mistake 6. Planting for summer only. Walk past most suburban yards in October, and the flower beds look abandoned. Bare soil, spent annuals that nobody pulled, a few stalks of something that bloomed in July and has been doing nothing since. The yard looks like the homeowner gave up in August. This is the single-season planting mistake. Buying plants based on what looks good at the garden center in spring, which means whatever is blooming that week without thinking about what the bed looks like in every other month of the year. Spring is when everyone is buying. It's also when the garden center is showing you only what's currently performing. That's a sales floor, not a design consultation. A bed designed for year-round interest uses a deliberate mix of plant types: evergreen structural plants that hold form in winter, spring bulbs that emerge early and fade before summer perennials fill in, fall blooming perennials that extend color into October, ornamental grasses that look architectural even after frost has finished everything else. You don't need to replant the whole bed. Add 1 structural evergreen and 2 late-season bloomers per bed. That alone extends the visual season by 4 months and turns an August to September bed into something that looks considered year-round. Mistake 7. Ignoring scale plants that overwhelm the space. The label says eventual height, 2 meters. Most people read it, nod, and plant it anyway, 12 inches from the front edge of an 18-inch bed in front of a single-story window. 2 seasons later, the plant has taken over the bed, is blocking natural light to the house, is being hacked back every few months in an increasingly losing battle, and looks terrible from both inside and outside. Scale is the invisible design principle. One plant at the wrong mature size doesn't just look wrong, it throws off the entire composition, crowds out neighboring plants, and creates a maintenance cycle with no good exit. The fix is simple, but requires patience. Buy for the mature size, not the current size. Measure the space. Know the spread, not just the height. And in small beds especially, choose compact or dwarf varieties of species you love, rather than full-size specimens you'll fight for the next decade. A bed that looks right in 10 years is worth more than one that looks full in October and becomes a problem by April. Mistake 8. Using landscape fabric under mulch. The garden center sells landscape fabric right next to the checkout. Weed barrier. Sounds like exactly what every bed needs. And for about 1 season, it works. Here's what happens after that. Wind-blown seeds land on top of the gravel or mulch, germinate in the layer above the fabric, and send roots down through it. When you try to pull those weeds, the fabric tears and bunches. Soil organisms that improve soil quality can't move through it. Mulch can't break down and enrich the soil the way it should. And within 2 or 3 years, the fabric is poking through the mulch surface in every direction, looking worse than no fabric at all. The real weed solution is depth, not fabric. 3 to 4 inches of bark mulch on bare soil suppresses weeds better than fabric over any 3-year period, without the deterioration, without the torn edges, without the embarrassing reveal every time the wind shifts something. Pull the fabric if it's already there. Add depth with fresh mulch. The bed will look better and require less intervention, not more. Mistake 9. No focal point in the bed. A bed full of flowering perennials looks beautiful in midsummer. The rest of the year, it looks like a collection of green mounds with nothing to draw the eye and nowhere for it to land. This is the focal point problem. Every well-designed bed needs at least one element with strong architectural presence, something that holds visual interest when nothing is flowering. An ornamental grass with movement and structure, a shaped evergreen shrub, a large decorative pot placed at a key point in the composition, a sculptural plant with interesting form year-round. Without a focal point, a bed is defined entirely by what's blooming, which means it's designed entirely by the season, not by the gardener. And a bed that only looks considered in July isn't a designed bed, it's a lucky one. 1 structural focal point per bed, something with presence in every season. Build the flowering plants around it, rather than hoping they carry the bed on their own. That shift from flowering plants as the whole story to flowering plants as supporting cast is what separates a bed that looks designed from one that looks planted. Mistake 10. No color cohesion across the beds. Stand at the street and look at the front of a typical house. The left bed has pink and yellow. The right bed has purple and orange. The foundation bed has red and white. Each one might look fine on its own. Together, they look like the yard couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Color cohesion across beds is one of the most overlooked principles in residential garden design, and it's the one that most clearly separates yards that look designed from yards that look assembled over time from whatever was available. The fix isn't choosing one single color, it's choosing a palette 2 or 3 colors that work together and applying it across every bed. Cool tones: white, blue, purple, soft pink. Warm tones: orange, yellow, deep red, bronze. Pick a side. Stay on it. Add one neutral, a silver foliage plant, and ornamental grass as a bridge between beds. When beds share a palette, the whole yard reads as one designed space rather than multiple unrelated projects. That cohesion is what makes people slow down when they drive past. It costs nothing to plan. The plants are the same price regardless of what color you choose. 10 mistakes. Every single one of them shows up in most yards. Most of them were made with good intentions. A plant that looked great at the garden center. Mulch that looked fine last season. A fabric that promised to solve the weed problem forever. Good intentions aren't the issue. Knowing what to look for is. The yards that stop traffic, that get photographed, that people point at from the car. They're not built with more expensive plants or bigger budgets. They're built around decisions. Where to put the edge, which 3 colors to repeat, how many of each plant to buy, which element anchors the bed in every season. Those decisions are free. They just need to be made. Go look at your beds with the 10 mistakes in mind. Pick the 2 that show up most clearly in your own yard. Start there. Edge first, always edge first. Then fresh mulch. Then 1 structural plant per bed. The yard you want is already there. It just needs a few clearer decisions made around it. More coming. Same approach. Practical, direct, and built to actually work. I'll see you in the next one.